Hello everyone! Welcome to another Friday with Dannphan in a different location. I think I've recorded a Friday with Dannphan in this corner before. For those of you who don't know, this is where I normally do all the actual drawing stuff, since the place that I normally record is not actually a desk. So this is an actual desk where I do much of my drawing. And it's basically just this tiny little corner. This little corner this is my nook. Oh, I know. So part of me was wondering, maybe I'll be here more often than I thought. Maybe I should be like putting up decoration or posters or something so that the wall doesn't look as barren and depressing. Especially like this black streak here. Yeah, you probably want to cover that up with some art or something. Something to make it look less depressing. But yeah, so we're doing Friday with Dannphan in the nook. This is where we're gonna do it, and yeah. I'm looking at the dog. The dog is with us, but he's tired. He was alerted as soon as I started talking because it was very quiet downstairs. As soon as I started talking, he got a little scared, like something was happening. All right, let's see. Oh, Michael, hello from MomoCon. Hope you have a great stream. Reaper closeout. MomoCon, that sounds fun. Well, it sounds cutesy. I hear Momo and I think, oh man, that must be like a convention for cutesy-ootsy stuff. I see a lot of those tables at conventions where they focus on the pink and the cute. I get it for sure. I guess girls do buy stuff at conventions, so it makes sense to market towards them. We got Brian and Gabe in the chat. Yeshua, what is up? Hey Amy Rose, what's going on? And Ishkra, of course. Captain Hyrule, Crislet. Maybe you could paint the wall a warmer color. It's not my wall, though. That's the thing, right? That's an idea, though. If this was my wall to do with whatever I wanted to do, I could certainly paint it. Can paint it white to cover this black streak. I should probably do that regardless, because I don't think there would be any objection to covering up the black streak. But yeah, maybe just I do have some posters that I don't have hung upstairs where I normally do the recording from. So maybe I could use those down here since they don't have any space upstairs. I don't know. Might be easier than switching around posters anyways. Yeah, Herd MomoCon is always a blast. Well, that's good to hear. Have you watched Sonic Prime? Yeah, I watched the first season of Sonic Prime. I don't think I saw the final season, though, the big conclusion. I guess I should at some point get back to that, because I just watched that first season, and it was pretty good. I had some, critiques here and there, but I thought it was a pretty good show. Yeah, Dannphan in a new room makes me nervous. Is it also because of the lighting, this, like, jail cell lighting here? There's not enough color. It's true. It's all blank behind me in gray. Ugh, ew. Let's look at something colorful like the Reaper campaign. See that smooth transition? So obviously this is a topic of discussion for this stream because we just got 19 hours left on this campaign. So not much more time to back it on Kickstarter, but of course we will keep it up for collecting funds on Fund My Comic, which is, where it's simul funding with. This will be up for another additional month. You see it's 21 days to go, but with the Kickstarter it's just 19 more hours. So if you wanted to back on Kickstarter, time is limited to do so. All the more reason why you should get on it and not sleep on this campaign, right? especially if you've read the first book and you want to see how the story continues. It's so much better to pre-order ahead of time so that you don't forget it, and you can get your copy signed that way, and you can get a couple extra goodies alongside it. Like some nice prints, t-shirts, yes, the soul vials. I think we might still have some soul vials left on Fund My Comic. Let me check. It's a good point. Maybe we ran out of them here. Yeah, there's still 2 left. 2 soul vials left. If you want, like, the big Reaper bundle, you can go for that. But that's only left on Fund My Comic. All of the ones on Kickstarter are already sold. So, that only goes to show you why you gotta act fast, guys. Always gotta act fast. But yeah, hopefully it's been a good week for everybody. You wouldn't believe it because of the gray lighting, but the sun finally came out today. It was raining for, I don't know, maybe like a full week until we finally got sunshine again. Such a pain. I know. It's gonna be like my thing now, is that I always talk about the weather on these Friday with Dannphan streams. I'm obsessed with the fact that we get so much rain here. I guess it makes sense because it's spring or whatever, but it feels like we're always just getting rain in this specific area. I think we just live on cursed land or something. You'd think that I'd live in the UK or something with how much it rains here. Anyway. There's the Dannphan talks about the weather portion of the stream. But something else good about spring is I'm gonna start some spring cleaning. Everybody, listen here. Don't knock spring cleaning. It needs to be done. It's good for you mentally. It's good for everybody else around you who keeps on tripping over your shit. Keeps on tripping over the many boxes that you just have laying on the floor. You wouldn't believe it because it looks so drab and gray behind me, but I am starting to clean this nook where I do all the drawing stuff. I'm looking and sifting through stuff, as well as like unclaimed copies of Sonic City Witch from the Kickstarter campaign, and trying to figure out what to do with this, and that, Spring cleaning, guys. You gotta do it. Makes me feel, I already feel so much better that I just moved one thing out of this corner. It feels like I can move a little bit more, You can't just live with a bunch of stuff crowding you. Must do spring cleaning. Yeah. I like the background. It reminds me of my granny's kitchen, except for the black streaks. Granny's kitchen. I guess that's one way to look at it. It's what, the wood paneling? I guess it's painted white anyways. Let's see. I prefer warmer colored lighting myself. Makes a room feel cozier and more inviting. Yeah, I like it. I like it too. Wish to back it, but due to some medical problems I am unable to spare my cash for it. Probably get it at a later point. No problem. Not an issue. Kinda like the Rouge the Bat new design for Sonic Prime and other Sonic games. Kinda fits her, a friendly cover-up for her. Yeah, I don't actually mind the Rouge the Bat's new design. Some people were like a little bit iffy about it because, I guess because every other character's design stayed mostly the same and it was just hers that changed dramatically. But I don't mind it. I don't think it looks bad necessarily. I also think, maybe in general, I don't know. It could have been better, but it looks fine. Yeah, it's one of those things. I didn't like the Lola Bunny new redesign, though. I didn't like that one as much, but Rouge is fine. Meanwhile, it started raining in my area again. I guess I moved the curse over there. The sun is out. I can tell you that. It's so hot today. Really, you know, for whatever reason, we got a cold front. So it was like nice 70s weather, right? And then all of a sudden, it was like 50 degrees, 40 degrees. I've been freezing for like the past 2 days. Yesterday, I was almost non-stop shivering. Today, it's warming up a little bit. I don't have to, I did have a sweatshirt on before, but now I'm finally warm enough to take, I had to plug the heater back in, so I have an electric heater pointed towards me. It was so cold this morning. Man, I don't know what it is with the weather. Just can't make up its mind. Classic Dannphan complains about the weather. Oh, Lilo and Stitch remake is out. You planning on seeing it? You know, that's true. There's the new Lilo and Stitch out. I think people overall like it. Is that what people are saying? At the very least, I haven't heard anything over the top bad about it. Am I planning on seeing it? No. No, I'm done with remakes entirely. But they lost me as an audience a long time ago. I'm not seeing any remakes. But I guess good that it's not that bad. Good job, Disney. Congrats. They're already planning a sequel, from what I heard. They're planning a sequel based off of specifically the live-action version of Lilo and Stitch, because it did well in theaters. So I guess that's all it takes. Very reminiscent of like when the CGI animated Lion King did really well in theaters, and they were like, how can we milk this? And they decided, oh, prequel. And then we got the Mufasa movie. It is what it is, right? But I'll pass. I mean, the animated version is really good. It's a really solid, like, S-tier movie. There's kind of no reason to see another version of it, you know? It's just not something that I was asking for. You know the classic line that they say online is just, who was asking for this? I'm kind of feeling that. I'm not asking for a Lilo and Stitch remake. I like the original just fine, and I don't think it needs any updating. I think it's perfectly perfect, just as it is. 2D animation and all. But that's just me. They're making an Elden Ring movie. How? They really milk the shit out of that Elden Ring success. Don't get me wrong, Elden Ring is a great game, and it is probably, like, yeah, probably my favorite Souls-like. It's very good, right? Very fun. But the story isn't good. Brutal honesty, guys. The story of Elden Ring is not spectacular. I mean, it's dark. It's, creepy, I guess. But, like, you know, you can look at the cool designed characters and probably come up with a better story in your head than what is actually the canon story in the Elden Ring universe. But yeah, they've been milking Elden Ring quite a bit. They made the manga, right? They made the manga spin-off, and they were going to make actually, I think they made 2 different manga spin-offs. And they were both, like, one was comedy-based and one was, like, romance-based. Is that what it was? I'm pretty sure they made 2 different manga spin-offs from Elden Ring. And obviously, they're coming out with the Fortnite Elden Ring, the Night Rain. You know? Not my thing. But I can see people being excited. In general, like, it's nice to play a version of Elden Ring that's more co-op focused, or at least, you know, like co-op, actual co-op, and not like versus another person online type of. But yeah, they were doing some sort of anime thing, but I didn't hear about the movie. They really milking it as dry as they can. Yeah, none of these animated films need a live action. That's what I'm saying. Clownfisher's review of the live action said it was okay, a 6 out of 10. Okay, so slightly above average. and they're like, man, we need to milk Lilo and Stitch. Let's get that sequel going. Wow, great job. Lion King 1.5. I watched that, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. That was another just straight up cash grab movie, but it was entertaining for what it was. It was fine. I didn't hate it, you know. They weren't my favorite characters, but kids liked them, so it makes sense to do like a movie that focuses on Timon and Pumbaa. Yeah. Did any From game have an actual good story? Damn, shots fired. You probably have a point, though. I have no idea if any From Soft game or From game has an actual good story. Part of me was expecting Elden Ring to have maybe a better story, just because they had no, it's not George R.R. Martin. That's what I'm thinking of. It's a Game of Thrones guy, right? But I think the only addition that guy made to the game was the incest stuff, which is very on brand for him. But yeah, nothing really was that great as far as story-wise, lore-wise, and stuff like that. I don't get which one of them came up with the idea of the finger aliens. I mean, that's essentially what they are, because they came from outer space or whatever, Eldritch, blah blah blah, but like the finger creatures in Elden Ring, not good. Don't like them. Yeah, you know, it kind of doesn't matter how well you design the fingers. I just think they look gross and not fun. Not enjoyable. Not even as an enemy to kill. Nah, I don't feel it. I can't get excited over killing rotting fingers. Sorry, guys. Not my thing. Miyazaki, you should have put in a foot creature. Isn't that his thing? He likes the feet. Hello, Dan. You planning on binge watching the whole High Guardian Spice show? I already watched all of High Guardian Spice. Yeah, I have videos reviewing every single episode of High Guardian Spice. Great show. 10 out of 10. That was one of my favorites from Crunchyroll. Anyway. More about exploring the story than the story being super deep. Oh, sorry, that's like responding to something, but I can't see the comment that it's responding to. Kill for a movie or anime based on Sekiro's Shadows Die Twice. Yeah, you know, I've never finished that game. I don't remember how. I mean, I have the game, but I don't think I got very far in it. Nothing against the game, it's just, you know, there's a lot of games that I just haven't finished for various reasons. And that one, it's just one of the ones that's on the list of things to play, but I've never really been in the mood to go play it, you know? And in general, I just don't play that often. But yeah. Oh, you know what? I actually kind of relate to this one. A sequel to Code Vein. I enjoyed Code Vein. Believe it or not, that was my first Souls-like. It's kind of weird to say, right? There's a lot of areas in Code Vein that like kind of really rip off of like a Dark Souls type stuff, and don't get me wrong, Code Vein was not a perfect game. I recognize that it has flaws, but it also had really good additions to a Souls-like game. It had a lot of really like fun stuff in there, and I actually kind of liked the story, which is not something I can say about the Dark Souls games. Is the story in Dark Souls is always the world is doomed and there's nothing you can do about it, and that's not fun. So prefer Code Vein, where it's like super anime and it's like you gotta fight and beat the villain and, you know, fight against whatever illness in your brain that's turning you into a villain. You gotta fight it. Yeah, friendship. Fuck yeah, you know? That's my thing. Code Vein was like right up my alley in terms of the themes and in general, I just kind of liked the combat, honestly. It's different, very different from Dark Souls style combat, but I did really enjoy it. I think if they made a sequel to Code Vein, the one thing I would want them to improve on is maybe areas a little bit. Like, because there's a lot of repeating patterns. It feels like, you know, they're just dragging and dropping assets, and there's not a whole lot to look at, you know? You're going to be looking at the same stuff over and over again, just placed in different areas. And Dark Souls is a little bit more, they think about, like, how they're designing stuff and making sure there's variety in what you're looking at. And you can't say the same for Code Vein. Like, there's the one castle area where it's just nothing but White Castle, and it's just like a repeating pattern over and over again. And it's part of the reason why a lot of people tend to get lost in that area, because, like, a lot of it looks the same. I enjoy the puzzle aspect to exploring an area and finding how to get further in and where to go. But it's just not interesting to look at the same thing over and over and over again, you know? So that's one thing I think they could improve on, just more stuff, you know? They had a great hub world, though. I loved the hub world in Code Vein, where it's the ruins of a cathedral, and there's a hot spring. There's a hot spring that you can just go to recover your... what is it? Your haze. That was it, right? Haze? It's hard to remember because there's always different words for what they use to describe experience. But no, I enjoyed Code Vein. And obviously after that, it made me want to play more Souls-like, so I actually played through all of the Souls games, and I played through Elden Ring, of course. And I really enjoyed them as well. But I think it was a pretty okay introduction to a Souls-like, even though the combat was super different from a Souls-like. It kind of gave you those vibes, you know? Kind of showed you what to expect from this genre of game. Oh, what about Kazan, the first Berserker? Anyone play it? Adam has played that. He really likes it. But we haven't played much more of it. We were playing it on stream for a while. And the nice thing is we were playing the demo originally, and the demo you can transfer that over to the main game, so that's really cool. So you don't have to start the game over again. He really likes the combat of Kazan. He's not so keen on the areas. He doesn't really like exploring the areas or getting from A to B. Funny enough, that's the part that I like. I like exploring areas. You can tell why I liked Elden Ring, right? This is kind of the whole thing. But, yeah. That's kind of his... He should play more of it. He took a break from it. And eventually we'll have to get back to that. But, yeah. Kazan was pretty good. It's hard, of course. It's very difficult. I'm not good at the combat portion of it. But you know. Yeah, I can't get into game stories where there's no hope for anything to get better. Well, it's especially upsetting when you're playing a game and the whole point of, like, going through all of this struggle and trying to get hard to beat the game is the idea that you are going to win. It's the idea that you are going to beat the game. But you know how when you beat a villain in, like, the combat, right? And then a cutscene starts and they just win anyway, even though you're supposed to have won the fight, and they just win anyway because the cutscene said that they won. And all of your struggle to beat this guy didn't matter. That's what it feels like when you spend like hours and hours in the game and they decide that all of your effort didn't matter. It still has a bad ending. Why? Why? I did all this work so that I could get a good ending and I still get a bad ending? What was the point of playing your game? What was the point of fighting all these people if I'm just gonna get a bad ending anyway? I might as well not play. It's not fun anymore if I don't get, you know, like, I guess part of the reason why games are so fun is because you struggle and you get a reward for your struggle, and it feels very satisfying. But I don't think it feels nearly as satisfying to just struggle and get no reward from it. The good ending is, in a lot of ways, the reward for struggling in a game. That's how I see it anyway. I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, of course. But you know. What about Blasphemous? I played a little bit of Blasphemous. I didn't finish it. But then again, there's a lot of games I didn't finish. I like I said, I don't really play that often. From what I have played, I thought it was okay. I don't really have much to say about it. Code Vein was pretty good. Level design was a bit lacking, but the combat was fun, plus it had anime titties. Exactly! Yeah, there you go. It was brilliant. Brilliant game. 10 out of 10. Happy Friday. Yeah, the struggle is real. Very true, very true. Telling the story is the point in such stories? Telling the story is the point in such stories. You want to try that again? Telling the story is the point in such stories. Story doesn't need a happy ending as long as the adventure along the way is entertaining. Debatable. Debatable. I think a lot of people, when they put a sad ending, they have a reason for the sad ending, right? They have some sort of narrative or greater point that they're trying to make. If they don't have any point, then it's probably not good. It's probably not a very good story. I meant games. Oh, okay. So telling the story is the point in such games is what you meant to say. Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess there are, like, story-centric games. Those are not my favorite, but, they're, like, when I say those are not my favorite, what I'm really talking about is the games where it's just, like, cutscene to cutscene to cutscene with some, like, QuickTime effects. Mostly just because there's a lot of those, and they tend to, I don't know, maybe overreach a little bit. There are examples of those kind of games that I really like. Not a lot of people agree with me on what games I really like, but you know, everyone has their own opinions. But you know, I don't have any problem with story-centric games. I just want to enjoy the story also. Like, even if I was reading a comic and there's no point to the sad ending, it's just sad just because, I would still be mad. Because, like, now we have a different kind of struggle. right? It's not struggling to play the game or to win. It's just the struggle of reading the comic and being depressed the whole time, and then ending the comic and still being depressed. That's not fun. But you know how it is. If a game is just sad, I'm out. Sounds stressful. Tend to not go for narrative-focused games. Need me that gameplay. I wanted to try Final Fantasy VI, but my PC could even run the demo. I couldn't, I guess. The other day I found out it was because of the nouveau program they had. It was removed, so I'll be trying it. Alright, well, good luck. Hopefully that was the problem. Hello, Angels of the Renaissance. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I know, I understand that, like, some stories are, like, have sad endings for a greater purpose. To, like, make a point or to make a statement. And sometimes I don't agree with the statement itself, right? And sometimes I do agree with the statement, and maybe those hit a little bit more harder for me when I understand what the writer was going for. I kind of like empathize with it a bit more. But at the end of the day, I obviously prefer the happier endings. I'm always just going to prefer the happier endings, and I feel like you can make a story with any statement you want, really. You can make a story always with the same statement and still have it have a happy ending. It's possible. It is possible. But, you know, I'm not even saying that all stories need to be like this super polished, happy-go-lucky, happy all the time type of stuff. Obviously, you can have sad moments in a story. You can have, like, horrific moments in a story. You can have an entire story be really sad and really depressing and still have a happy ending. It's possible. If anything, a lot of people, a lot of writers would recommend that you have contrast behind your high points and low points in your story. Meaning that if you have a scene be super sad and super depressing, it's usually recommended that you also have a balance there, so that you also have a scene that's super happy and super hopeful, because that balance is kind of what helps keep people more engaged, and it helps create a lot more impact with the emotions. Like, you feel more sad when a character dies when you have watched them for a long time being happy, you know? For example, Hughes from Full Metal Alchemist. Great character. He spends so much time with all the main characters talking about his wife and kid and, you know, just being ushy-gushy about how much he loves his family, and that's like his thing. And that makes it so much more sad when he dies. It's because we had and shared all these happy moments with him that when he gets shot, it's really sad, right? Because you don't want to see that character die. You have such an attachment to him. That's mainly the point that I'm making. You know, there's a certain balance in order to create more emotional impact. So, I'm not against sad moments. I'm not saying that, but I do prefer happy endings. It's just kind of how I am. Let's see what the chat is saying. What is the worst comic you've ever read? Honestly, probably Mother of Madness, but I had a really miserable time reading the Fartacular comic, the Harley Quinn Fartacular. I mean, you can tell I had a really miserable time reading it, because I literally titled the video, "This Might Actually Be the Worst Comic." That's what I titled the video. I was so miserable, not gonna lie. Mostly just because it was... Nothing could have been made less for me than a fart joke comic. But Objectively, yeah, Mother of Madness is probably written worse. Because the issue with Mother of Madness is it's just like really poor plot telling. Like, even if I don't like the story of Fartacular, at least it still told a story in an organized way. Mother of Madness is not organized at all. There's just no clear direction. And then the ending, fuck that ending, it's just preposterous. It's preposterous from the front to the back. And it's so long. It's also longer than Fartacular, which instantly makes it worse. But yeah. That is probably the worst one. Oh, thank you for the 20, Mark. Reaper 2 ordered. If you need proof, reader, I volunteer as tribute. Well, keep that in mind. Yeah, you know, I'm just starting the next chapter, so this chapter 8, technically. We're including, like, all the chapters in the first volume. So far, everything's moving along smoothly. I do expect that I'll have to go back to earlier chapters. I'm gonna have to do some editing here and there. But the important thing is that we're moving along at a good pace so that we can be making sure that we complete this comic at least by the end of the year, because it's a lot of pages. I'm setting the bar quite high, as usual, with this page count. Oh my goodness. The last one was 108 pages. Now this one is looking like 200 pages. It's a lot. It's a lot of work for one gal. But I still think I can finish it by the end of the year. It's just gonna be very difficult. So I gotta make sure that I keep a good pace and do my best to get out my goal of a chapter each month, but it'll probably be more like a chapter each month and a half. And then the last 2 chapters, I've mentioned this before, but the last 2 chapters of Reaper, book 2, they're gonna be even longer than the first couple chapters. Like, for the most part, the chapters are like 30 pages long, but then those last 2 are like 40 pages long. Because I'm an insane person. But, you know how it is. Oh, look at that. We got 81 backers, 18 more hours to go. Look at that. We're doing great, guys. And remember, if you are not a Kickstarter person, that's okay. Because we also have it on Fund My Comic. Fund My Comic is the alternative that you can use if for whatever reason you don't like Kickstarter, be it, you know, their business practices or the fact that you don't have a Kickstarter account or, you know, whatever reason you have. But if you wanted to back on Kickstarter, that is ending in another 18 hours. This is the closing stream, so there it is, guys. In the case of Dark Souls, the dark endings make sense, though. Do it, though. Do it. Because at one point, the whole point of, like, an apocalypse, right, is the idea that it used to be a nice place to live. That you can see that in the Dark Souls series. There are these great monuments, great castles, all these, like, big villages, and really just straight up wonders are built in the Dark Souls series. Giant wonders. And you have to have a great society to build these great wonders. So if you had that great society before, why wouldn't you be able to ever get it back? You know, why is the assumption that the world is now permanently doomed and you'll never be able to revert it back to the way it was? It's a little bit strange to me. The entire series is about investigating the misguided attempts at prolonging the dying world. It's not about winning, but experiencing it. Experiencing dying? I mean, there are other ways to experience dying, but I don't think most people would recommend that. Um, yeah, I mean, you could just make the story better. You could just make it about actually saving the world instead. You could. They chose not to. You could make it about saving the world. They chose not to, right? The Dark Souls series is also a little bit convoluted because originally what happened with a lot of these games is that they would have the item descriptions written by different people, and the item descriptions were supposed to set up the lore for the whole world. So there was no real story director. It was just kind of a free-for-all. Like, everyone was just making up their own stuff for the story. And then later on, VaatiVidya had to, like, piece it together and explain it to everybody. It's the same thing with, like, with other video games. That's just, for whatever reason, that's how it was done at the time, is they would just have item descriptors basically decide the story for you. It's a little bit silly when I say it out loud, but that's how, that's how a lot of games were done. I don't know why. You should have a story director. You should have someone with a very clear vision for something when you sit down and you gotta put together a beginning and an end. And they did have a general idea in mind where it's like, okay, so it's the apocalypse, and you're an undead and you've been cursed, or at least, the first two games, that's what it is. I think the second game, the good ending on the second game, good ending, right? That's probably my favorite of the Dark Souls series, specifically because it is the only ending in any Dark Souls game, or any Dark Souls ending, that implies you could save the world. It doesn't imply that you do save the world, because obviously Dark Souls 3 exists, but it implies that you could, that it's possible. And that's why I like it the most. It's also more interesting, because it's like, well, how? How do I do it if it's possible? Because, for those of you who don't know, like, the whole Dark Souls 2 ending is this idea that you live outside of the cycle, and you can have all of your questions answered. You can see all outcomes of all futures. That's cool. I like that. Good job. Tragically, a lot of haters out there don't like Dark Souls 2 because it tried to be different and good. I'm a Dark Souls 2 defender. I don't care who knows. I like Dark Souls 2. It's the best one. Fight me. It's the best Dark Souls. Let's go. Anyway, sorry guys. I guess we were talking a little bit too much about Souls-like series. Writers like their worlds too much to destroy them. Tolkien's Middle-earth had a real fading away and end. The moment you tell me I'm not meant to change anything for the better, I tap out immediately. The world is depressing enough without pretentious edgelords writers piling on. Yeah, it's one of those things. And I kind of, it's not even like I don't get the narrative. I do. I get what they're going for. They're going for this idea that the world in Dark Souls, it's always going to be this never-ending cycle that never... I can't pet you right now, Gurgi, I'm sorry. Yes, lay back down. Okay. Sorry, distractions in the room. It's kind of similar to how when an evil force rises up, you defeat the evil, but eventually another evil force will rise up, and etc., etc. And it's kind of... they're kind of trying to do like something like a cycle. a never-ending cycle where it doesn't truly have any... And you can do that, but you don't have to it doesn't always have to be the apocalypse. You can have like cycles of we have a great society again, but then the apocalypse happens again, and then we have a great society again, but then the apocalypse happens again. I would prefer that, actually, to just, it's always the apocalypse, and the apocalypse never changes. Like, the most you can do is burn yourself. Come on. I think you could do a little bit more. But yeah, I like the ending of Dark Souls 2. It's kind of interesting. If Dark Souls 2 was done by like a B team, don't. Hater alert. It was not done. They had so much more effort into Dark Souls 2, and a lot of people can't appreciate it because the game was rushed out early. You know how a lot of games, they release late and everybody groans and moans because it's like, oh my god, I gotta wait even more to have Elden Ring, right? Elden Ring was late. I'm pretty sure they set the release date a long time ago, and they were maybe they just set the year release date, and they ended up like, maybe they ended up reaching it, but people were expecting it earlier. And people groan and moan whenever a game is released late, but sometimes it's necessary. You don't usually want games to rush release. Dark Souls 2 was originally supposed to be released later, and the team thought that they had much more time to develop all these different ideas and stages, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, they were forced to release the game earlier than their original deadline, their original date. So they had to do all these ridiculous cuts. And, you know, it's a shame. Granted, you know, even with the knowledge that they were forced to release the game earlier, it's still pretty good. For a game that had to be rushed out, still pretty damn good. I liked it. And it's also worth noting, people act like Miyazaki was like mad at the new director or whoever it was who was like the lead on Dark Souls 2. He defended him and, you know, basically called all the haters like savages. There was no hate between them whatsoever. Change the gameplay? Not by much. There are some things that changed that I get people being annoyed by. But, you know, it's overall, it's like kind of the same gameplay. There's some items that they changed what the items did, and that annoyed people because they would use the item thinking that it would do the same thing that it did in Dark Souls 1, and then they get annoyed. And obviously, there was also the illusionary wall thing, right? This also goes back to what I was talking about when I said they had so much more effort put into Dark Souls 2. They took a lot of the concepts from the first game and then extended on them. Instead of like just copy paste, they actually tried to extend on the idea and make it more interesting, add more variety to it. And the illusionary wall thing was one of those ideas. So like in Dark Souls 1 and 3, you just roll through and you can discover an illusionary wall by just rolling through it. And I guess it's the same in Elden Ring 2, but sometimes in Elden Ring you have to hit it instead of just rolling on it. So in Dark Souls 2, they changed it so that you had to like interact with the wall to reveal that it was an illusionary wall. And it would have this actually unique animation of the wall, like the bricks of the wall, like caving inward and pushing up. It's like essentially what you're doing is it's like the classic thing where you move a brick to reveal that the wall is like a secret passageway. That's how they had it in Dark Souls 2. Only game that has that. It's a unique animation that they added specifically for Dark Souls 2. They also had puzzles to discover illusionary walls, where you would use the Pharaoh's Lockstone, and it would reveal to you which wall had become transparent. you know, it's just stuff like that, where they're taking an idea and they're extending on it rather than just copy pasting it. But I can understand some people being upset that they just can't roll through the walls and discover them that way anymore. I get it, but I don't think it was a bad change. Like, the easiest thing that you can do is just have a fake wall disappear when you roll through it in a video game. It's much more difficult and also much more unique to have an animation play of you like actually unveiling a secret passageway and the bricks moving and everything. It's fun. I like fun things. What can I say? Alright, sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk about Dark Souls this much. My point is that I like the games. I don't think the story is that good, but I like the games. I still like them. Need to get the Dark Souls games at some point. Only played Demon Souls and Code Vein. I haven't played Demon Souls, but I feel like I should. You know, I'd love to play Bloodborne, of course, but I don't think it's ever going to release on PC at this point, unfortunately. It's like, it's been too long. It's gonna stay on the PlayStation forever. Anyway, so back to the topic of the stream, guys. Reaper the Beasts and Men. Only 18 more hours left on the Kickstarter, and we did reach 4K between both Fund My Comic and Kickstarter together, so that's another great milestone. For those of you who don't know, there is a stretch goal. Stretch goal? That's not right. Stretch goal at 5K. Yes, there's a couple stretch goals. Oh, there, I can just click on that. Haha, here we go. So the 5K stretch goals, we get free stickers, all backers, and then, you know, you can keep going higher. Can you take me higher? I won't sing the song. Can't get the stream copyrighted. But there's also an 8K stretch goal. We get a new poster for all backers. And 10K, we get free keychains. All cool little knickknacks to have in addition to your brand new book. So, exciting stuff. You should be looking forward to that. But yeah, so that goes for all funds raised on either Kickstarter, Fund My Comic, just everything together. You get these stretch goals. So we already reached 4K. Ugh, I don't know why I'm stuttering. We already reached 4K between Kickstarter and Fund My Comic. So we would just need a little bit more, and we could, in fact, get up to 5K. That's exciting, right? Show us the doggo. Well, doggo is back laying down, sleeping. I will not bother him. He's being a good boy, right? But yeah. So, I was starting up chapter 8 just today, actually. So hopefully we can keep up a pretty decent pace. I think at one point I was like, man, I gotta try to like get done 2 pages a day. That should be my new goal. But now, it's looking like I'm lucky if I can finish 1 page a day. Gotta be honest with you guys. What I've been doing instead, though, what I would usually do is like just do 1 page entirely, like have a draft of the page done and just ink it all up, call that 1 page for the day. Now what I've been doing, I switched up my routine a bit when it comes to drawing pages. Now what I do is I draw the character art and the background art separately, because in some cases the background art will actually take less time, so I can just like save all the background art for like at the end when I'm done drawing all the character art. And you know, sometimes it works out. It's fine. At the very least, it feels like less stress to not worry about everything on the page all at once. I do have a tendency to, whenever I'm making art, to like sit down and force myself to finish it all in one go. And that's normally not what artists recommend. They recommend that you like are taking breaks in between art pieces or doing a different art piece and going back to it and, you know, jumping around a little bit. And that's not what I tend to do. I tend to get really, I don't know if I want to use the term obsessed, but really fixated on, okay, I started this art piece, I must finish it immediately. You know what I mean? Yeah. Interesting technique, saves on time. I think it does. But yeah, because also some pages, you know, need background art, some pages kind of don't need background art. Depending on what the page needs, if you just dedicate a day to doing just background art for your pages, you could blast through a couple pages that way. You know? And then maybe you can reserve time to make the extra detailed backgrounds even better because you're dedicating more time to it. Whereas if you're just trying to finish an entire page in a day, you'll probably like rush through the background a bit. But I think it's been helping, so I'll keep doing that until I decide to switch up that even more. Miss Dannphan, people are not liking the Lilo and Pitch remake. Well, I haven't seen it. I heard that Clownfish TV said that it was a 6 out of 10. That it was just a little above average. So, it is what it is, right? But, you know. Thanks for explaining what I'm watching. Charcoal is messy when you use it to draw. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing everything digitally. But, yeah, charcoal. I only ever used charcoal when I was, like, doing high school art classes. Yeah, or, like, maybe once in college, art, you know, life drawing. Maybe. I've never used it again. I almost exclusively just do everything digitally now. Every now and then, you know, I'll pop open the sketchbook. I'll do like inks with the C markers, right? Copic, or these are really good. The Pigmas, these are the good stuff. Recommend for sure. That's what you gotta use. I got like these really shitty ones at 5 and below. I know what you're thinking. Oh, of course they're really shitty if you got them at 5 and below. But I thought so long as they worked, it was probably fine. They did not work. They were garbage. They were garbage trash. And I don't like them. Yeah, it's kind of just the problem that you get whenever a marker is dying. That was just all of these markers. They're like already dead, bought brand new. What the heck? It's garbage. And they feel terrible in your hands because it's just like the cheapest plastic imaginable. It's the worst. The worst. Anyway. Sorry, we're going off on even more tangents, but it's alright. So we're just about at the end of the stream. One more time, I'll remind you guys, yes, Reaper Kickstarter is ending. You just got another 18 hours to go. So if you want your copy and you want to back on Kickstarter, this will be basically your last chance to do it. This is it. This is the end, guys. And if you don't back in time for the Kickstarter, you'll still have some time to back on Fund My Comic. We'll have this one up for another 21 days, and hopefully that'll be something. But we're gonna closing out for the Kickstarter. And so far we've raised a little more than 4,000. Doing good, right? We could get up to 5K, it's totally possible. But we'll see how it goes, right? Especially even when the Kickstarter closes, we'll still be collecting money from Fund My Comic. So we could still reach 5K even after the Kickstarter closes. Might be something. There might be something there. Who knows? Anyway, thank you guys for joining me on another fantastic Friday with Dannphan. I hope you have a great weekend. Let's see, future videos to look forward to. Well, I do want to do another thrift store anime review video. I have some DVDs. I haven't watched them yet, but I do have some. You know, I got some bullets in the chamber that we can look at. I can also review a couple other manga, anime. I have some indie comics lying around. Maybe I could review those. You know, nothing's set in stone, but I have options as far as new videos to make. So stay tuned and we'll see what happens. Not next week, but the week afterwards, it's gonna be dead. It's gonna be dead here on the channel the week afterwards because I'm going away. I won't tell you where because don't want anyone following me, but I will be going away. Everything's fine. It's just a trip. No worries. But yeah, so there is your updates on the Dannphan channel. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I'll see you next time. Bye!